Welcome to Spiritual Dialogues with Father Udon de Castro. We are here at Cariana Lay Monastic Community. I'm your host, Brother Lodi, and with us, Sister Tachi. Sister?
Yes, Father, you're speaking about the analysis. And we're horrified that and it's true. And everything that Pope Benedict is saying, we look back and yes, no, Father?
What did you find horrifying?
Horrifying that the devil was able to use all that.
Oh, well, he always uses
and he
it,
probably
yeah.
was the one who instigated all that.
Oh, of course.
So
of
that's
course.
the one
No
that's
other
horrifying. And we were
source.
so stupid and you just went on with it.
Yeah, that's the word. We were stupid. We were stupid, yeah.
Okay.
So we were analyzing the source of the problem first, no? Before we talk about the solution. And we said that Pope Benedict mentioned the fact that there was a sexual revolution. Now, what happened during that revolution is that man was once upon a time in the natural level. And as long as you're in the natural level, everything is all right. And creation has been described in the natural level, and it says, God saw that it was all good. So as long as sex was looked at the natural level, which is primarily for the procreation of children, or spiritually, to add citizens for heaven, then it's all right. There's nothing wrong with it. What happened is because of the sexual revolution that Pope Benedict mentioned, the minds of men descended to the lower level. So before they were in the natural level, they went down to the unnatural level. So now sex was only for fun. It was unnatural. Even animals don't do that. And then you can go lower to bestiality, which means getting worse even than the animals. Now the rule in the spiritual life is this, that you have to go up continuously. You have to go up from the natural to the supernatural. You have to climb. And that's the job of the seminary.
Oh, yes.
The children or young boys or young girls who enter the convent or the seminary are entering in the natural level. And the monastic life, the religious life is supposed to help them go up to the supernatural level. And the rule is, as long as you don't go up, you go down.
It follows, Father.
That is a natural rule of spirituality. So what happened in the 1960s was because the boys who entered the seminary were already in the unnatural level.
Yeah.
And when they entered the seminary, they could not be raised up to the supernatural level. They went lower.
Yes, Father.
Now, if the boys remained in the unnatural level, their problem could have been solved earlier. So these future bishops and cardinals could have avoided all this scandal if they were cured when they were in the unnatural level.
What was the bishop doing at that time when they are in the?
In their diocese.
Oh well, you're supposed to guide the seminarian if you're a bishop.
Yeah. So the job really of a bishop is, if you are in the unnatural level, is to raise them up to the natural level.
Yes, Father.
And then from the natural level to raise them up to the supernatural level. That's what you call spirituality. And Pope Benedict said at that time there was none.
How come?
They were not being taught spirituality.
They were just allowed to do what they want?
Yeah, but they were doing other things, maybe some psychological sessions and so on like that.
Yes.
Everything is in the natural, physical level. There was nothing spiritual. So While the seminaries were in the unnatural level when they entered the seminary because of the sexual revolution, the bishop should have risen up to the supernatural level,
Yes, Father.
but they didn't know how to do it.
Oh my.
If they didn't know how to do it, at least while they were in the unnatural level, they should have allowed them to marry.
I've been holding my breath and say, yeah, why force them into the seminary to become priests if
Not
they
only
don't
that,
want that?
because marriage is the solution for that problem. Precisely.
Isn't that what Saint Paul
Yes,
said?
Saint Augustine says so.
If you can't, go get married.
That's true. Marriage is a solution for those who are in the unnatural level. Because if you are in the natural level, you can be celibate, you can be virgins. But if you're down in the unnatural level, you have to marry to become natural.
So, excuse me, Father, the unnatural level is when you do these things for pleasure alone.
Yes,
That's already
for
unnatural.
pleasure.
Huh?
Yes, it's unnatural. Because
I thought before unnatural was even worse than that, but that's already unnatural.
yeah, because it was not meant for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Naturally, it was not meant
So
for
if
that.
they wanted to have children, then they just go get married. Is that what you're saying? No.
What I'm saying is, if they wanted to have sex for pleasure,
I see.
unnatural.
Yes.
They're in the
Then they should get
They should
married.
get married.
Because anyway, might as well make it.
because
proper.
marriage will make them natural.
Okay, make them natural.
Because they're husband and wife, they're just not mere playmates.
Yes.
They wouldn't do it for pleasure because they have to do it as husband and wife.
And
so
then
they are.
there's that supernatural purpose pa. Yes. Okay. So there was a solution.
Of course, there was. That has been the Catholic solution.
That was all the time.
From the beginning of time. Yeah.
And why did they not make them do that?
Well, because they wanted them to become bishops and cardinals.
Okay.
So they were preventing them from marrying,
marrying so
and
that they could
getting
be
out
bishops.
and getting out.
Seminarian or priests, they are prohibited to get married.
Well, they are really prohibited.
So
That's why
they
they
get
had
out
to
of the
go-
seminary
yeah,
and
they
get
had to go
married.
out.
Not get married and stay in the
They
seminary.
could not.
Okay, Father. So that's it.
So that is the solution. But because they did not allow them, or they did not encourage them to go out and get married, because they wanted them to be future bishops and cardinal, they descended all the more. So they were not only after sex for pleasure, they were engaged in unnatural perversion of sex to get pleasure. So they descended because if you don't go up, you go down lower.
Yes, Father.
So that's the analysis. And so now, if they're down there in the bottom, it becomes nearly impossible
To get them
for anyone to bring them up to the supernatural level.
You're talking because by this time they have years and years and years of it.
Yes, of course. They are completely in the embrace of Satan. So it's so difficult to raise them up from the bottom and raise them up to the natural level. Even just to the natural level, it becomes impossible.
Really.
But you said, Father, Pope Benedict has the solution. Why not the church follow the solution of Pope Benedict?
Not yet.
Yeah, and that's what the apostles told Christ when Christ says, to go to heaven, you have to do this. And the apostle said, it looks like impossible. Like for these priests and bishops now, it looks impossible.
The ones who are deep in it.
Deep in it.
Okay.
But Christ says, well, for men it's impossible.
Yeah.
But with God,
Yes.
everything is possible. And that's the solution of Benedict, to solve what is impossible.
It reminds me of your faith in God. Probably there is not strong faith. That's why they cannot lift themselves up.
There's none at all.
Yeah, and as we shall see later, that's precisely the analysis of Pope Benedict, that the problem is the lack of faith. And therefore the solution is to restore faith, which is going to be very difficult for many people.
Yeah. Yes.
How can it be difficult when you believe in something powerful, something that is God, something Christ?
Well, because the solution is in the hands of somebody else. It's not in your hands.
It's in God's.
So it's not up to you to solve the
No,
problem.
you cannot anymore at this point.
I mean, to say having faith in our heart and mind, that is our responsibility through prayer and probably ask the grace of God
That's
to grant
the one.
us.
That's the one.
As we shall see later, that will be the solution. But let's go first back to the analysis.
Okay.
So Pope Benedict analyzed the situation, the world situation. It was sexually too strong for the seminaries to overcome. The whole world was sexually oriented. Now, the training in the seminary could not handle the seminarians who were coming in who were too sexually oriented. They couldn't handle it. And Pope Benedict says because of the lack of a good course in moral theology. Now, when Pope Benedict said moral theology, he used the word moral theology, but the exact word is the lack of ascetical theology.
But what is the difference between the two?
It was a lack of spirituality. It's not a knowledge of what is right and wrong.
That's moral.
It is that's moral theology. It's a lack of spiritual theology or asceticism in the seminary. And with the lack of asceticism, it was impossible for the seminaries to overcome that temptation. And so they discovered, at the beginning, seminary days, these are people who are going to become priests. They were masturbating left and right. And they couldn't control it.
Did they want to become priests?
That's the point. They wanted to become priests, but they were masturbating uncontrollably, so much so that the confessors did not know what to do. They had to report it to the provincial, to their superiors, and they had to go to doctors who are the wrong person to consult.
And they didn't know that they could not have, yes, the solution is, this is not for you, right? That's what you said it was supposed to be the
Well,
solution. You can go and get married. Maybe this is not the end for you.
Actually, that marriage is just a natural solution.
Also, of course, Father. But
the Catholic Church has a very good solution, which is chastity, celibacy, and so on, virginity, and so on. But nobody was teaching that, and they didn't know how to attain that. That was the problem. In other words, the problem before the 1960 is exactly the problem now. That they did not know the analysis and they did not know the solution.
It's a big problem for that.
In other words, they did not know the Catholic solution to a moral problem, which should not be.
What is the Catholic solution, Father?
Well, that's what Saint Pope Benedict is going to mention in a short while.
So, Father, it's like there's no concentration on spirituality at all?
Not concentration,
Or
there was
not the
total
what?
ignorance,
Ignorance
yeah,
of spirituality.
or ascetical.
So there was not no
theology.
concentration. There was none at all.
There was, in fact, very poor training in moral theology. So, seminaries not knowing that masturbation is a sin, there's something wrong with their moral theology,
Yes. Yes. It's like that the ignorance, that would you say that was ignorance? Or maybe because the one had no spiritual life either. We're not spiritually grown either.
Well, it's the wrong kind of ignorance because this is the kind of ignorance that goes along with pride.
I see.
Because a humble person is never ignorant. He always knows the answer. So what we produce are ignorant people because they became proud. And what made them proud is technology. Suddenly the world thought that they could solve the problems of the world all by themselves. So all these things of United Nations and so on are all attempts or belief that they can solve their problems by themselves.
Yes.
Psychiatry and medicine are all attempts to make people believe that men can solve the
Yes.
problem by themselves.
Yes. Yes.
So men became proud. And in their pride, they became blind to morality. So the seminaries were masturbating and they didn't know it was a sin. Of course, they knew it was a sin. They were confessing it every week, but they kept on repeating it.
They didn't know how to solve it themselves.
In other words,
They
they
didn't
didn't know
ask
how
God's help.
to solve it. They didn't know how to go from the unnatural level and at least become natural.
We have only 30 seconds, Father, please.
And so there we have briefly described the state of the world at the time it was sexually oriented, and the state of the seminary in which it was totally ignorant of the Catholic solutions to the problems that Christ came to earth in order to solve.
Thank you very much, Father. Thank you for watching Spiritual Dialogues with Father Don De Castro. Please continue watching so that we will be enlightened. We will know what to do with the present situation we are in now. Next episode, Father will continue discussing why the confusion in the Catholic Church. Thank you very much.
Hosanna, Hosanna,